SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Way past 21. Good morning to you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, and all the places. You know, SuperTalk.fm and SuperTalk TV on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. A lot of SuperTalk there. And, of course, available on demand at SuperTalk.fm. Don't make all of Lance's work cutting up the clips and interviews and shows in vain. Get it on your schedule. Lance, my sidekick, a running buddy, pressing all the buttons, making it all happen. Got all that country music ready to go on this Wednesday morning.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, my friend.
I was ready to go yesterday. By the time we got to the third hour, I was like, man, I got to tease it a little bit.
Go ahead and get ready for this.
Yes, sir. Ready to go.
What up, dude?
Man, it's hump day.
It is.
How's the weather up there this morning? It's just normal here. It was nothing special. It wasn't raining yet.
Kind of clammy.
Yeah. Feels like it's going to rain a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Looks like maybe we got a little bit of sprinkle. Concrete on the driveways, wet but not soaked. You know, that it rained 30 or 45 minutes and it's about halfway dried look to it. Man, it was humid yesterday. I had two different times yesterday where I was, well, my in-laws are moving, and so I had to take some stuff out to their house and bring some stuff in, and there was a stack of wood on the front porch that needed to be moved, and so I kind of loaded that up. And, man, I was like, I am soaked, sweating.
I was the same way. I did a few things around the yard, nothing overly laborious.
Yeah.
And it was like I was in a sauna. I don't know if my mind was just telling, you're done with this now or what. I don't know. But, yeah, it was almost like waving the white flag of my body was just like, okay.
Yeah, like no mas.
No more. We're done here. And I really didn't even do that much, But
that's what I was thinking. It's like, I mean, I know it was physical, but it wasn't. I wasn't like trying to kill myself with a super fast pace or anything like that. And then was at the farm a little bit later, and I mean, I was like, all right, I'm going to take a middle of the afternoon shower, and we're going to start over on this. But anyway, 79 in Oxford today for the high. Rain showers early, scattered thunderstorms arriving for the afternoon. Storms may contain strong gusty winds. High of 79 with winds out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Chance of rain 60% with the possibility of over an inch of rain. Now, that's a longer forecast than we normally give you, but there's a lot there. That's in Oxford in north central Mississippi. We've got a day that could very well be like that over much of the state. New Albany, where this weekend you've got the Tallahatchie River Festival coming up. And a couple of shows going to be there tomorrow. I'll tell you more about that. Variable clouds, scattered thunderstorms. Storms may may contain strong gusty winds. High near 80. About a 50-50 shot on the rain, though. Now, how do you do that, Lance? How do you say on the forecast for Oxford, 60% chance of maybe severe thunderstorms, which means there's a 40% chance it doesn't rain, but you can expect up to an inch of rain.
Yeah, you expect that. But
if it rains, it's going to rain its hiney off.
Be ready.
Meridian, partly cloudy, some afternoon showers, thunderstorms, high of around 90 today. Your chance of rain, 40%. Pascagoula, you just got clouds. Partly cloudy skies, 88. Winds out of the southwest at 10 to 15. miles per hour. It's like kind of a pay attention to the weather day. Because you got the front coming through. It's going to cool off a little behind it on the backside. You get the little exclamation mark inside the red circle when you go to the Weather Channel in some places. Marginal risk of severe weather. All right. But it apparently is raining right now in Columbus. Headed to work. Good morning. Coming down pretty good. Be careful out there. All right. Overnight, Senatobia got more rain last night than it has in 2 months.
I believe it, yeah.
What does that mean if it rained at all last night?
Drop. It was just one drop, and that covered that.
Pretty dry in a lot of the state over the last couple of months. There is no question about that.
Yeah, reading the forecast for Jackson and the Delta for the last 2 weeks has been literally the easiest thing in the world. It's like hot, no wind, no rain. And then you just move on to the next day. It did change yesterday, though. I was actually having to edit to fit everything into the
Got to tighten it up a little bit.
Tighten it up and then hit the stretch. Tighten the stretch up a bit, too. So, yeah, that was a noticeable change of weather as of yesterday's forecast.
John Marshall was born in 1755 on this day, the 24th of September. He's the fourth Chief Justice of the United States. Served in that capacity from 1801 until 1835, originally from Germantown, Virginia. Scottish-American golfer Tommy Armour, born on this day in 1894. He was a U.S. Open winner in 1927. Won the PGA in 1930 and the British in 1931. He was just a Masters win shy of a career Grand Slam from Edinburgh, Scotland. F. Scott Fitzgerald, 1896 to 1940. When you have the audacity to use a first initial and nobody doubts it, nobody gives you any flack about it, everybody, I mean, we could just call him Scott Fitzgerald today, but we don't. We use the F. Author of Great Gatsby, Zelda, born in St. Paul, Minnesota. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
It's almost like you say, you got to be careful. The FCC may be listening.
Yeah, well, Ayatollah Khomeini. F. Ayatollah Khomeini.
There you go.
Born in 1902, the supreme leader of Iran from 1979 until 1989. He was a religious figure, a political leader, and was in charge of the Iranian Revolution in 1979. You remember when we were going through all of the stuff with Iran and we bombed the nuclear facility, you heard all of the people saying, before 1979, this was an incredible place. It was a beautiful place. Then came the Ayatollah. Jim Henson, born on this day in 1936. Born in Greenville, raised in Leland. Puppeteer, artist, screenwriter, filmmaker, best known as creator of The Muppets, What an Imagination, which means Sesame Street and The Muppet Show. Co-founder of Muppets, Inc. with his wife, Jane Henson. Man.
Yeah, I mean, iconic there. How much? You could just go all day talking about Jim Henson and the Muppets.
You could.
Yeah. It blows my mind, actually, even to think about it to this day. That
Muppet Family Christmas is the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Just you go to Leland, Mississippi, and you have the Deer Creek running through it, and they put the lights on it, and you can get a mindset of like where Jim Henson was when he was creating these characters. It's just it's such a unique honor to have had him in our lives, I think.
Absolutely. Just wildly talented, and you learned last week. And we featured prominently in Mississippi's Rose Parade float.
I wonder how long the Muppets will last.
Kermit the Frog will be on the float for the state of Mississippi.
Like
man!
How long
I love the Swedish chef in Muppet Family Christmas. Turkey, turkey, turkey!
The dudes up in the rafters. The Siskel
when
and
he
Ebert
sees
guys,
Big Bird. Oh yeah. Did you hear about the church that went up in flames?
Oh, man.
Holy smokes! Sorry,
You guys are great.
I just went down memory lane for a second.
The Swedish Chef, though. I almost forgot about him.
1946, Joe Green. Mean Joe Green, the American Pro Football Hall of Fame tackle. Played at the University of North Texas. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowls, 74, 75, 78, 79. 10-time Pro Bowler. 5-time first-team All-Pro, born in Temple, Texas. I mean,
best
the fact
commercial
that,
ever. Best commercial.
Yes. Hey, Joe. Thanks, kid. That's great. Just great. If you've never seen, if for some possibility you have never seen the Coke commercial with Joe Green, just Google it. Take a minute. It's great. And of course, the mascot at the University of North Texas, the Mean Green, no coincidence there. That's when you know you were great. Some guys get statues. Some schools just name their mascot you in perpetuity. Back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Let's do it.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, preacher man talking on TV, cutting down my rock and roll. He wants me to send a donation. He said he's worried about my soul. Now Jesus walked on the water. Lord, you know I believe that's true. But sometimes I think Jimmy Swaggart not gonna do a little walking through.
Not exactly easing into a country music Wednesday morning. Nope. Lance went straight to the deep end. Love it.
You got to, man. Like I said, I warmed it up yesterday.
There you go. Let's see. There are a couple other birthdays here. Phil Hartman, born on this day, 1948. Canadian-American actor. You perhaps remember him from News Radio, The Simpsons, Saturday Night Live, Pee-wee's Playhouse. He's also a graphic artist. Pretty accomplished one. Eddie George is 51. May age some of us. 1973, College Football Hall of Fame running back. Heisman Trophy winner in 1995, Pro Bowler with the Oilers, and then became the Titans. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and now coaching college football now. This day in history, 1493, the less ballyhooed second expedition by Columbus. Christopher embarked on his second expedition to the New World. Boy, he had a crew, too. Set sail with a fleet of 17 ships.
Man,
in the year of 1493, Columbus, that doesn't work. Sorry. 1529, you had the Siege of Vienna. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent and his Ottoman troops arrive in Vienna, beginning the siege. And some of the stories about the Ottoman Empire and the
early days, they were
treasuremans of the treasures of the Ottomans.
They were pretty strong, yeah. In the early days, as they waned, though, you know, it started falling apart on them pretty roughly.
Mm-hmm. George Washington nominated John Jay as the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court on this day in 1789. In 1853, Cornelius Vanderbilt decided that he wanted to go on a trip. He had all the money in the world to do it, so he circumnavigated the world aboard his private yacht, the North Star. Friends, I'll be back.
Yeah, see you in a bit.
I'm going to go take a ride.
How long did that take?
I don't know.
I guess it was probably 1853. Steam engine maybe in there somewhere. I doubt he was, sailing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Cornelius. Come
on. Maybe that's where Commodore came from.
Yeah.
1919 Boston Red Sox slugger Babe Ruth set an MLB season record with 28 home runs against Yankee Bob Shalke. That was in a 2-1 loss at the Polo Grounds. Didn't last long, though. I mean, 1922, you got a new National League record set by Rogers Hornsby with 42, and then the home run numbers really began to go up after that.
Yeah, I mean, 28 in the whole season.
Yeah.
Really playing with
that was an all-time record.
Like down stuffed baseball.
1929, James Doolittle completed the first completely blind flight, taking off, flying a set course, and landing solely by instruments aboard a consolidated NY-2 biplane at Mitchell Field in New York.
That was the Doolittle raid guy there, too.
Says, you want us to do what?
Yeah. He also is the one that configured the aircraft carrier right so that they could do the Doolittle raid. So that they had never really taken off, if I remember, off of aircraft carriers. And he had this harebrained idea. We went to Nimitz and all these guys, and it's like, they're like, I don't know about this, man. He goes, no, we can do it. And so that was the original Doolittle raid. I believe that's the way that went down.
Feels like he was an ice water in his veins kind of guy.
Yeah, it was a one-way trip deal, too, if I remember. They had to ditch the planes after they made mainland. And, interesting story. But that guy was a boss.
A couple of others from this day in history. 1952, American fast food restaurant chain Kentucky Fried Chicken opened its first franchise in Salt Lake City after Colonel Harlan Sanders franchises the recipe to his friend Pete Harmon. 1957, Jailhouse Rock, released by Elvis Presley. It was the Billboard Song of the Year in 1957. 1 year later, 1968, 60 Minutes premiered on CBS TV. Had a pretty good run. Some would say it's still having a good run, but others would say it's kind of lost its fastball. 1976, American newspaper heiress Patty Hearst sentenced to 7 years in prison for her part in a 1974 bank robbery. Released after 22 months by President Jimmy Carter, pardoned by President Bill Clinton in 2001. Wonder why she was pardoned.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with money.
Name, money, anything like that. 1988, American heptathlete Jackie Joyner-Kersee sets a new world record in points to win the gold medal at the Seoul Olympics. What an athlete she was. And on this day, just 1 year ago, a bronze statue of Johnny Cash was unveiled in the United States Capitol's Emancipation Hall, representing his native Arkansas, making him the first musician honored with the statue in the National Statuary Hall collection. Didn't we talk about this at the time and say Elvis should probably be there?
I would think so, definitely. I think Harlan Sanders should be there, too, personally, for Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Colonel Sanders!
One of the great stories about that is he was trying, he had a little roadside diner, and he was just trying to make money. So, okay, well, let's fry some chicken. And it took too long to fry, and everybody was complaining about the wait time. So he took like an old crock pot type deal, took it apart, and made a pressure cooker out of it and said, I need to speed up this process. So as he locked it down and decided to fire this baby up and had the hot oil in there and the chicken, the thing blew up on him and about killed him. And he said, I better make some changes to this here design. And so he took it all apart and put in much heavier duty washers and all the parts and pieces and made really the first pressure cooker for what we know of today as frying chicken in that way to kind of get it going. But that was one of the interesting stories I learned from, the food that made America great stories.
Yeah.
Now, that was one of my favorites and he ended up with only one restaurant later. It's like up in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania somewhere, if I remember. He ended up with only the one. And KFC kind of went its own way, but
those checks were coming in though.
Yeah, he retained off of the herbs and spices. He never would let that go apparently, and that's I believe where he made the money. Not necessarily from the frying the chicken, but from the actual recipe. But what a fascinating story. Some of those, the food that made America great. Those are great stories.
Capitol Police in Jackson are investigating the shooting death of a Germantown high school student. The law enforcement agency announced over the weekend that it was assessing the homicide of a 17-year-old male that occurred on September 19th, approximately 9:30 at night. It was around Sunnyvale and Sandalwood. area that features an elementary school, an outdoor soccer complex, and an indoor basketball center. Officials later identified the deceased as, forgive me for mispronouncing this name, Salah Ghassan Humaid. His family told the local TV station WLBT that he was a student at the high school in Gluckstadt. Police do not have, at this time, any arrests made or any persons of interest. If you've got information about the passing of Humaid, then you are urged to contact Capitol Police, 601-359-3125. A student at Southern Miss was beaten so badly by fellow fraternity members that he had to undergo surgery and relearn how to walk. That's according to a federal lawsuit filed against the Nu Eta chapter of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Raphael Joseph pledged Omega Psi Phi back in 2022 on the Hattiesburg campus, suffered severe abuse during a months-long pledgeship. That's according to his attorneys yesterday. The lawsuit was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Mississippi in Hattiesburg. Abuse included intimidation and threats, denying pledges food and sleep, stealing their money, and frequent beatings with a wooden paddle. The alleged hazing culminated during a ritual night in April of 2023 when members beat Joseph so severely he spent nearly 11 days in the hospital and had to relearn how to walk. That is a quote from the lawsuit. It was the second time Joseph had to be checked into the emergency room over the span of his pledgeship, the trips including surgery and a blood transfusion, according to the lawsuit. Civil rights attorney Bakari Sellers is representing Joseph, and his quote was a pretty strong one. We see violent incidents like this time and time again across the nation, but instead of taking action, fraternity leaders and university officials alike sweep it under the rug and write it off as boys will be boys. This isn't youthful indiscretion. This isn't tradition, and it sure isn't brotherhood. It's criminal violence and abuse, and it needs to end. As part of the lawsuit, Joseph is asking for compensation for the harm he is said to have suffered and money to cover medical bills, lost income, and attorney fees, also seeking a court order to stop the defendants from continuing the alleged behavior. SuperTalk Mississippi News received pictures but chose not to publish them because of their graphic nature.
From theseabrook.com.
Since you're up early, you get the news first. Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
One July in the midnight hour, he climbed up on the water tower, stood on the rail and painted a 10-foot heart. And John did rain on a hot summer night. He wrote Billy Bob Love Charlene and let her stream.
You know the good thing about being a comedian? You can always get away with saying what you said was just a joke. It's great fallback. Tough gig sometimes, but great if you find yourself in trouble.
Got to have good delivery, but yeah, exactly.
Man accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump last year at his Florida golf course found guilty. Jury of 5 men and 7 women found Ryan Ruth guilty on all counts that he was facing after just 2 hours of deliberation. Ruth had been charged with attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate, possessing a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence, assaulting a federal officer, possessing a firearm and ammunition as a convicted felon, possessing, I don't know, just a long list.
Now, didn't he represent himself, too?
Yep, he did. Pleaded not guilty, represented himself. Prosecutor said Ruth spent weeks plotting to kill Trump before aiming a rifle through shrubbery at the Republican as he played golf on September 15th, 2024 in West Palm Beach. Told jurors in his closing argument that he didn't intend to kill anyone that day. Quote, "It's hard for me to believe that a crime occurred if the trigger was never pulled," close quote.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That's why you don't defend yourself.
Yeah. Ruth, 59 years old, exercised his constitutional right not to testify in his own defense. He Rested his case Monday morning after questioning just 3 witnesses, 1 firearms expert and 2 character witnesses, for a total of about 3 hours. In contrast, prosecutors spent 7 days questioning 38 witnesses. Man convicted of attempting to assassinate President Trump while he played golf tried to then stab himself with a pin in the neck after the federal jury handed down the guilty verdict. He grabbed a pin and started trying to jab it into his neck. U.S. Marshals had to intervene. They dragged him out of the courtroom, and his daughter screamed. Okay. More than 80,000 bags of shrimp are being recalled out of fear of contamination. The FDA announced that approximately 49,920, that's pretty specific, not very approximate, but okay, bags of Kroger raw colossal easy peel shrimp, approximately 18,000 bags of Kroger Mercado cooked medium peeled tail off shrimp, and approximately 17,264 bags, again fairly specific, of Aquastar raw peeled tail-on shrimp skewers have been recalled because they may have been contaminated with cesium-137, a dangerous human-made radioactive material that releases harmful radiation for an extended period of time. Traces of the material are widespread and can be present in the environment at background levels and at higher... Affected shrimp sold at Kroger locations in Mississippi, along with locations in 30 other states between June 12th and September 17th. No illnesses have been reported. Moral of the story, be careful buying frozen shrimp in a bag at the grocery store. There's probably a lot of people that do that. I mean,
was it like a naturally occurring problem there, or is this something that they fear that maybe somebody put it in there?
I don't know. I don't know. This was all, well, it wasn't all Kroger brand stuff. You had the Aquastar stuff as well. Okay. Be careful. All right. We actually got a bunch of sports news. Probably more than we will get to, which is just fine with some of you, as you have made it known through the time. But I actually think the sports stories are interesting. So, with no further ado, your sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online, pearlriverresort.com, your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. pearlriverresort.com. We have the opponents and the locations for Mississippi State and for Ole Miss for their football games starting next year, their conference games starting next year, and going through 2029. We'll just do next year. Mississippi State will play 5 home SEC games and 4 on the road in the 2026 season. Those home games, Alabama and Auburn, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. While the Bulldogs will travel to LSU, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Texas. Ole Miss next year, also 5 home games, including LSU for the second consecutive year. You may remember that happening back in 2001, 2002 when they changed over to, or they reformatted the divisions. Yep, it did. LSU at home, Mississippi State at home, Auburn, Georgia, and Missouri. The road games for the Rebels will be Oklahoma, so second consecutive trip to Norman, down to Gainesville, over to Austin, and up to Nashville. So OU, Florida, Texas, and Vandy will be Ole Miss's road opponents in 2026. And then the following year, for both Ole Miss and Mississippi State, because they played 5 SEC home games, they will play 4 SEC home games with 5 road games, but not necessarily the same teams. The new scheduling format guarantees that you play every team in the SEC once in a 2-year period, and in a 4-year period, you will play every team in the SEC home and away. CC says, why are we playing Georgia every year now? CC, I assume you're talking about Ole Miss. It's just kind of how it fell out, man. Ole Ole Miss went for a long time not playing Georgia. Played them, twice in 13 years? It has picked up a good bit in the last little bit. All right, Major League Baseball going to implement a challenge system for balls and strikes in the 2026 season. It's not full-on robot umps, but it's headed in that direction following years of testing in the minor leagues as well as during spring training. And at this year's All-Star Game, Major League Baseball forged ahead with a system that gives a team 2 challenges per game. Hitters, pitchers, and catchers will be the only ones allowed to trigger the system. They will do so by tapping their helmet. If the challenge is successful, the pitch will be shown on in-stadium video boards. Teams will retain that challenge. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it was close enough. The ABS system uses similar technology to the line calling system in tennis. 12 cameras in each ballpark tracking the ball with a margin of error around 1/6 of an inch. The ABS zone will be a 2-dimensional plane in the middle of the plate that spans its full width of 17 inches. The zone's top will be 53.5% of a player's height, and the bottom of the zone will be 27% of a player's height, which is slightly different than when they used to say, oh, yeah, the strike zone's between the knees and the armpits, or knees and the letters.
Yeah, long legs, though.
Yeah.
I mean, interesting to see how this plays out. I've been wanting to see this for a while, but I don't know if I like the halfway. Just go with it. And to me, I don't know about the challenge system. That sounds a little strange, but we'll see, I guess.
Mike Gundy, the second longest tenured FBS head football coach, has been fired by Oklahoma State effective immediately. The AD said Cowboy football reached an unprecedented level of success and national prominence under Coach Gundy's leadership, and for that reason, we are firing him. Say all the nice things at the end. Gundy was 58. He was in his 21st season leading the Cowboys, trailing only Kirk Ferentz at Iowa, who's been the head coach there since 1999. His exit comes 4 days after Oklahoma State fell to 1-2 on the year in a 19-12 loss to Tulsa. Can't do that. Cowboys have lost 11 of their last 12 years. They owe him $15 million to go away upon his departure. I think I'd look at it like, do you want me to depart like right now? Or do we wait 5 minutes and then go? Or how long do you need to get the check ready?
I imagine he'll grow that mullet out it'll look epic by the end of the season.
Hunting those rattlesnakes.
Yeah, man.
John Mateer going to have surgery on his hand. The Oklahoma quarterback and early Heisman Trophy front runner going to miss slow down, Richard. Going to miss about a month after suffering a broken bone in his right throwing hand in the win over Auburn. Here's the crazy thing. It happened in the first quarter. Cat's got to have surgery on his hand, and he played the rest of the game with that and a knee strain. They won. Beat him 24-17. He's headed out to the City of Angels for the surgery. Dr. Stephen Shin will perform it. One of the country's leading hand and wrist surgeons, worked on Drew Brees, Steph Curry, Mike Trout, and others. 67%, 1,215 yards, 6 touchdowns so far this year for John Mateer with Oklahoma. And finally, Jackson Dart going to start for the New York Football Giants in their game against the Los Angeles Chargers at MetLife Stadium this coming Sunday. He had to wait 3 games. Giants lost them all. He said, next! And next was Jackson Dart. That's your sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
From the Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Got a jackpot drawing tonight for the Powerball, estimated at $127 million. Estimated cash value $59 million. Most recent drawing from Monday night yielded 3, 29, 42, 46, 59 with a Powerball of 15 and a power play multiplier of 3. Last night's Mega Millions drawing came up empty. Therefore, Friday night's drawing, $474 million, the estimated cash value, $219,400,000. Last night's numbers, 13, 24, 41, 42, 70. The Mega Ball, 18. That is your update from the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. That is the Mississippi Lottery. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. And a reminder that this afternoon, actually this morning first, and then this afternoon, today, starting at 10 o'clock, middays with Gerard Gibbert, and then this afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi, live in New Albany to kick off the Tallahatchie River Festival. Tallahatchie River Fest presented by B&A Bank, Ace Fiber, and Renaissance Bank. For more information, go to their website, newalbanymainstreet.com. The project is partially funded by a grant through Visit Mississippi. A lot of cool stuff. Always had fun. And the bike trail, trailhead for the Tanglefoot.
Yeah, great
trail
place.
Right there in downtown New Albany. Great
I went to the
restaurants.
first few of those as they got it started years ago. Man, that's a great event. And it's a beautiful place, too, where they have it down there near the river and the park. And then you got, like you said, you got the trailhead. And I mean, that trail gets so much traffic that it's hard to imagine unless you actually ask people, like at the coffee shop, like, what's the furthest place somebody's come from? I mean, it'd be like Canada.
Yeah.
They get people all over the place.
Well, now the trail doesn't go all the way to Canada.
No, but I mean, like, people
They
come to
from-
ride that
yeah,
trail,
yeah.
For miles upon miles.
I mean, that'd be a heck of a trail all the way to Canada.
Yeah, wouldn't that be? Yeah, I don't believe they've got that part finished yet. But
Thursday afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi on the road, going to be in South Tillow at Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden. You can take advantage of the end-of-season sale, 0% financing. That means free money, Lance.
Yeah, if it's 0%, you ain't got nothing to worry about there.
And just take your time. No reason to pay it off early for 72 months on a John Deere compact tractor. I mean, you can pay it off early if you just get tired of the payments. You got the cash. 2.5% for 48 months on Gators. 0% for 24 months on commercial mowers.
That's a deal.
And I need a payment like I need a hole in the head.
That's the way I am.
But, man, have I got a tractor on the brain.
You got one already circled, huh?
Well, no, I probably need to look a little closer. Nothing fancy. Good 40, 50 horse, 4-wheel drive with a bucket.
Is for around the house, or is this for, business?
Well,
A little of both, huh?
Just for
farm,
stuff.
yeah.
I mean, just for stuff that needs to be done.
Man, I'll tell you, we had a Kubota for the longest time and had it up, just tuned up. It had been a while. When you put it through what we put it through in the Delta year after year, after a while, you're like, hey, I think we need to have this baby a full meal deal.
Probably ought to check the filters.
Buddy,
and,
let me tell you, it makes such a huge difference, but it needed a lot.
Flush the lines.
Oh, man, it needed a lot, too. It was leaking this and that. And now it's, it's back, but it's a little ancient, but you can't imagine if, the amount of stuff you can get done with a little tractor. Yeah, I mean, I blow my mind every time I go, all right, I need to do something. I go, all right, where's the tractor? Hook something to it, do it, put a chain on it, whatever. It makes work a lot easier. So, hey, let me know when you go out and buy that, baby. I'll break it in for you.
It sounds like no. It sounds like I'm going to pass on that. Thomas says get a 50-horse minimum. Those 30, 38 hydros are just souped-up riding mowers. Thanks for the tip, Thomas. You can do a lot with a 50-horse tractor.
There we go. There's a
50-horse
John Deere and a
tractor,
Ford
there is
here.
a lot you can do.
A great image there of the John Deere and the Ford. Implements galore. I love implements.
No doubt.
Yeah. Buddy of ours.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Somebody's getting some work
He's got
done.
the John Deere clipper attached to the Ford tractor,
love
and he's got the disc over there waiting to be hooked up with the hitch,
And
3-point hitch.
It's looks like you got a nice little stack of tin there, roofing tin, ready to go for the next project.
I have a question for you. I got a question for you. There's not a secret that I'm not aware of to hooking up the PTO shaft to the back of the mower, is there?
I mean, it's always feels like how many people does it take to change a light bulb question sometimes,
I guess that's the thing is, it's a hard one-man job regardless.
Yeah, you got to get on and off a bit,
I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where you probably should pray before and after.
Definitely.
Like, you need to preemptively ask for forgiveness for the things that you're going to say.
I'm
and then
with you.
Make sure on the back end. Okay.
Yeah, I'm always, you just don't want to be close to anyone if you're operating this by yourself, because I'm with you. I'm letting some
getting those grooves lined up and, sliding it forward, and you got grease going everywhere, and then it twists, or, one of those arms on the 3-point hitch swings over and it catches you and it just die.
Yeah.
What a great, that's one of those things that it feels like somebody is going to come along with some great invention someday that will change the world. More MRC right after the news.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straight in the curve, flat in the hills. Someday the mountain might get up with the law. Making their way.
7 o'clock hour. Good morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross with you, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV. Glad to be with you not only today, but every single day. This hour of the radio program is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Online, the website, MWGEmployerServices.com. What do? Well, they make your life easier. Who doesn't want their life to be easier? Not that a little bit of hard work isn't good for everybody, but not when you're doing HR, not when you're doing payroll, not when you're going through benefits. You don't want that to be harder. You don't want it to be more complicated. You want it to be easier. And MWG can help it be easier for you, for your business, for your company, for your HR and payroll professionals. Custom plan, just for you. Doesn't matter if you're a small operation or a big company, they can help. MWGEmployerServices.com. The website, the phone number, 601-206-7966. I should have known, Lance, that there is a solution. But doggone, I was not aware of the solution. But I am now, and I feel like my life is going to change because of the PTO Quick Connect.
Yeah.
That sounds like I'm getting ready to do an ad read. I'm not. If you've a Quick Connect company, you want me to endorse your product, we can work something out, I'm sure. They make a thing. You don't have to deal with the teeth and getting it lined up and pushing and pulling all at the same time. They make a thing that looks, it looks like it makes it just as easy as it can be. And I am for it.
I need it.
Thank you, friends. I'm guessing. Now, look, there are a lot of you that spend a lot more time on a farm or a tractor or in the woods or a deer camp or whatever than I did, and you're probably like, you idiot, how did you not know that was there, that was the case? But based on some of the messages that you sent that are like, it is hard, that's ridiculous, you got to get it lined up just right, that stupid plastic cover's in the way, et cetera,
the plastic
et cetera.
Cover, yeah, that's what you
it's a problem.
Thing.
I'm guessing some of you didn't know that the Quick Connect for the PTO implements your clipper and whatever else. I'm guessing some of you didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean,
you didn't?
No, I don't get to spend as much time as I'd like on a tractor. So yeah, I just go with what I got.
Yeah. Gene in Mendenhall says he feels our pain.
Yeah.
Got a rusty old PTO shaft he's fighting with right now.
Yeah.
A lot of you are saying, like, I'm telling you, I think this is going to change lives.
Yeah. Information is important, right?
I Googled PTO Quick Connect. Several of you sent me the link, and there are a bunch of different ones. And what you do is you attach the receiver end to the PTO shaft that comes out of the back of the tractor, and you lock it in place. And then you put the other end on the implement that you're about to use. It just clicks right in place. And then it's got bigger teeth. So the one I was looking at, I think they're different models. It's got, like 3 big holes and then 3 points. And then they're like corresponding holes in the 2 sides, and you place them together, clicks in place, drop a hitch pin or a bolt or some sort in to lock it in place, and you are good to go. I look forward to reporting back on you after spending, $400 for one of these things.
Yes. Nothing's free in life worth having, right?
Lance, I think they could add a 0 and I still would feel like it was a worthy investment.
If you add it up all the time, if time is money, exactly, it'd probably be worth the investment.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever you see 3 guys standing around a tractor, all of them looking at it kind of like a cow looks at a new gate, that something's on, something's wrong there, and you got some rust build up or something's not jiving up. So anything that could slow down or speed up that process, I'm in, man.
Oh, listen to this guy. Listen to 60 and 40-year-old tractors, no problems yet, but sounds good for city boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, my tractor's
guilty.
Gotta be.
Congratulations, all this stuff.
I have no idea how old the Kubota is, but
yeah.
The Quick Connect sounds like a great idea, though, for the investment. I need to start saving up. About a decade from now, I'll be able to afford that. And by then, it'd be all battery-powered tractors or something, remote controls.
I got a message from a friend yesterday, Lance, who was listening while he was out working on food plots. Man, what a great way to start the day. We did get a funny message, and Jim kind of echoes the sentiment here. He says, a guy I used to work for always told me, if it don't fit, force it.
Yeah.
If that don't work, get a hammer. If that don't work, get a bigger hammer.
That's one of the things I do have in the little mini toolbox that's on the Kubota right behind the seat. You got to have a ball peen hammer. Got to have that. Something isn't working right, you just give it a good bang. It has a tendency to, I guess the fear that more's coming, the tractor, it decides to behave.
Yeah.
And you get 5-6 miles out on the back 40, which is usually a little further out. That's the last thing you want is to have to walk it in. I've had to do that before. Flat tire, miles out. You're like, oh, man.
There are those of you who are listening right now and say, like, would you get to the news? We will. Yes. Like, I'm sitting here staring at a story about Trump speaking to the UN yesterday and feeling like we should talk about that. And I don't know. I'm just way more drawn to tractor talk.
It's an appealing time. When you think about your bush hogging and moments on the tractor, it's nostalgic. It makes you want to go do it again.
7:15. All right, 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. I could be on a tractor.
Yeah, you're thinking of golf, but now it's the tractors are called.
Well, and CC said, I don't have any idea about a tractor PTO making you cuss, but hit 3 crisp shots in a row on the golf course and then shank one and watch what your mouth does.
Oh, yeah. That's my specialty. Snap hook one into the pines after playing 10, 12 shots in a row perfectly.
Yeah. Rod in the Delta said it's easier to just buy another tractor and keep the mower hooked up all the time.
It may be.
You may be right. You may be right.
I'm the same way, though, on the golf course. As he was saying, though, I've flipped a couple golf carts. I've gotten so mad after, hitting a tee shot. So, yeah, I've had to try to learn a little, was it goose fraba? Goose fraba. Got to learn the, anger management technique, from Jack Nicholson. Yeah. Every now and then.
The Speaker of the House, Jason White, is going to join us in the next segment and be with us through the end of the hour. We'll see if we can get him into a little bit of tractor talk. Bubba in Starkville says tractor fever is real. He says, I love my Quick Connect, and I'm behind Final Destination truck at this moment. My neighbor literally has a tractor for each implement.
That's nice, yeah.
I think there is a world in which I win one of those Mega Millions or Powerball lotteries where that's the way I would operate. I don't know if I'd do it for each, but there would be a dedicated mower for the bush hog, the Batwing bush hog.
Oh, you get the big one, the fold out.
Oh, yeah. Now, there would be a smaller mower with a clipper also, but, you got to have a big one for wide open spaces. And I certainly, if won that, I would have some wide open spaces to cut, so.
If you got the big Batwing one, you need some wide open spaces, but it's to test it out.
Yeah. One of the things that we're going to get into with Speaker White is some of the preemptive messaging that is coming from school districts across the state of Mississippi. I've heard about it from Clinton and maybe another school or two in the metro area and the Oxford School District yesterday. On the heels of their Monday night board meeting, released a preemptive message voicing their opposition to school choice. The only question that I think I would have there is, do you want to know what's in the bill first? Because we don't have a bill yet. We'll ask the Speaker where he is in terms of putting together a bill, what he thinks will actually be in that. I think he's in a pretty good position to tell us. And get into a lot of questions about school choice, but hopefully not just school choice. Hopefully there is more to be done in the legislative session this coming year than just figure out school choice. Quick time out. We are back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
On your radio, on our app, or on your smart speaker. We're always free. Super Talk Mississippi, your home for Mornings with Richard Cross.
I'm gonna take you to a special place that nobody knows. Baby, get ready.
All right, I promise we will pull the car out of the ditch, get the train back on the tracks. We'll get into plenty of national news in the 8 o'clock hour. Let you know that David McRae, State Treasurer, will be with us at 8:37 this morning. But right now, we are joined by the Speaker of the House in the Mississippi House of Representatives, Jason White. Mr. Speaker, good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard. Good to be with you.
You as well. Appreciate the time as always. How are things?
Things are good. Look, I don't want you to switch gears. I like talking about football and tractors and bush hogs. And
I understand.
I got my fix last week. We got all our stuff planted, and
there you go.
I get my farming genes out, and I get to exact all that out of me, and it's deep down in there somewhere, and it's fun to be a farmer for a couple of days.
You got the farming genes, and then you got the fancy genes, right?
Well, I meant the GENES. We've come.
Oh, I thought you meant JEANS.
No.
Different.
No,
denim.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. No, it's good for the soul. It is, and it also reminds you after a day working on stuff like that and how tired you are, just how hard our farmers work.
No doubt.
And how
no
that shows in life is it takes a special person.
Yeah, they get tickled if they hear me complain about a little bit, they're not getting rain or this or that. They're like, what are you worried about? You have 2 tomato plants and some food plants.
Yeah. And that one blister on your left hand.
And they've got 4,000 acres of cotton that,
Exactly.
They don't need to go to the casino. They gamble plenty.
There's no question about that. Since you brought casino up, I'll just ask you this because we already got a message. Mobile sports betting, you going to be able to do that this year?
Well, the House has been able to do it for 3 years in a row, so we hadn't lost our what I think is our feel or pulse for where most Mississippians are, and that is we have gambling in all other forms. We even have sports betting. You just have to have your toe on the property, and in the world we live in, that's a little bit silly where I come from. So you'll see the House pass another bill that legalizes mobile sports betting, and you can talk to the Senate and their chairman and their lieutenant governor, and you can ask them. The House will pass it early and often, yes.
And that's one of those things that the opposition seems to be about half of the gaming properties are against it, and that's been enough to push
No, sir, it's not half the gaming properties. It's one or two key operators that are politically connected.
Okay.
Next time the lieutenant governor's here, ask him about it. Him and his Democratic gaming chairman. It's as simple as they don't want that bill to pass for a reason they cannot explain. So I won't dwell there. Other than
it sounds
just to
like
tell
maybe you just explained it.
It's simple. If it hits the Senate floor, it'll pass with 40 votes, maybe more.
Okay. One that I'm not sure would pass as quickly is this school choice conversation. I was already corrected. Andy tells me it's not school choice, Richard, it's school freedom. You talked about this at the Neshoba County Fair. You've talked about it with me on the radio a number of times and so many others. Do you think this is the year?
I think it's time. I think it's past time. Now, I heard the governor speaking earlier this week, and he said he got a question from the audience about what was the legislature going to do on school choice. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you're asking me to prognosticate on what the Mississippi legislature might do on anything, I'd be better off, going to the casino. But I don't know. I think the votes are there in the House. I think, and we passed some what I called baby steps last year that didn't see the light in the Senate, and that's fine. They've got their politics and their reasons, and those guys and girls were elected just like my House members. So I'm not down on them because they're not for education freedom or school choice or whatever you want to call it. That's their business, and they'll have to answer for their politics. And I've got enough to run my end of the building without pontificating on that. Here's what I know. More and more Mississippians are demanding some form of choice. We had hearings at the Capitol yesterday on one of our watershed lakes up in North Mississippi, as you're probably aware. The dam is breached and it's messed up. Mm-hmm. And the worry is last year it flooded thousands of acres and that water stayed out all winter, and everybody's worried about all the consequences surrounding that broken dam. Why don't people just move? If they're worried about the water, why don't they just move? Because that's the solution you give me when I say, what about these folks who are trapped in this failing school district? What the opponents to school choice says, why don't they just move? Well, why don't these flooding victims, why don't they just pick up and move, Richard? And that's the answer I get when I say, what do we do about these kids in these failing districts? Or what do we do for these parents who the local school district isn't best for their child? But they're taxpayers. They're paying their taxes. So I come at it from, I just think it's best for parents to make that decision about their kid. And everything that falls after that, yes, there are factors. There are factors like we don't want to do anything that undermines the good public schools in our state. Mm-hmm. But I'm not here to prop up the bad ones. You're not going to hear me say, I'm worried about this chronically failing school district. If we have school choice, they're probably going to lose some students because parents are for anything but that for their kid. And a lot of people that tell me, they just need to move, they wouldn't send their kid into those schools. And the answer is not money. We're fully funding them. And look at the underperforming schools. Now, somebody says, well, why are you doing this? And they might cite your school district in Oxford or Tupelo or all the great ones that we have. This will have no effect on those school districts. And certainly they are the preferred choice for folks in those areas. But the reason is because they're great schools and they have great leaders and great community involvement. And the things that aren't happening in a lot of other school districts in our state. And this isn't a shot at public school. It is a shout out for parents and freedom and the folks that are actually paying the bill. Because I hear this thing about public money to private schools. It's not public money. It's taxpayer money. It was taken from people's pockets, from their paychecks. This money didn't fall out of the sky and, designated offering. It was taxpayer money.
Well, that part of it's semantics, right? I mean, I get that it's taxpayer money, but all of the money that the government has is money that comes from taxpayers.
But this
and
idea
so that is the public money that is used and dispersed for all the services that we have to provide.
Yeah, but this idea that it runs through some machine and all of a sudden it's public dollars and only for public schools, and until you prove me wrong, that's what it is. That argument doesn't fly anymore for folks in a red state like Mississippi. They're more about what is best for them. They feel like they're paying the bill. They should have some say in their kids' education.
So there are so many tentacles to this, but let's just take that piece of it. The taxpayer money that is going to fund public schools in Mississippi, and the idea that the money should follow, and I guess this would be in a universal choice scenario, that the money should follow the student. My question on that is, okay, if you say the money is going to follow the student, you've got a student that currently is in a public school that moves to a private school. What about the kid that's already in private school, whose parents are paying taxes as well? Do you not have to allocate the same, let's just use $6,500 as the number. Do you not have to allocate the same $6,500 for that student and all 60,000 or so students that are either in private schools or Christian schools right now?
If you're asking from the point of fairness, no, that's not fair. But it's what we're doing today fair. And here's where we are. We're at a place where there is absolute no choice in Mississippi. There are states that have universal school choice, and the entire amount follows that child. The state portion, the local portion, the federal money, it all goes. What I've said from the beginning is ours may not look like that. It may be different. And no, we can't afford today the 44,000 kids we already have in private school, even if they just got base student cost of $6,600 or $6,800. That's $250 million.
Right.
We don't have that.
And then there's another 14, 15, 16,000 kids that are not under the MAIS umbrella that are either homeschooled or in Christian schools.
That number is about 23, Richard. It's about 23,000. So you got over 40,000 in private schools, and you got another 23,000 homeschooled or non-accredited.
65,000.
You're 65, and then you got about 435, 440 in public school. You got about 500,000 kids in K-12, some form, some setting in our state.
Okay. There's no question that it is an important conversation, and the conversation, to me, has to be what's best for the kids, right? What's the best outcome for students across the state of Mississippi? Well, looking at it through that lens, we got to take a break, and we'll come back. And I mentioned something kind of as a tease to this before you came on. There are a few districts now that have come out and publicly said that they are against a school choice deal, including in my home district, the Oxford School District, which did that yesterday. We'll get into that when we come back. Also, what would be in the bill? What will be in the bill this year? It's all coming up with the Speaker of the House, Jason White. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Barbecue chicken, laundromat bar and grill.
From the Seabrook.com.
Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I went down to the river to watch the
Great being
fish
with
by.
you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Speaker of the House, Jason White, is my guest. A lot of messages coming in on the C Spire text line, as you might imagine, 601-879-4395, overwhelmingly about school choice. And one said, would y'all please just go back to Tractor Talk?
Unfortunately, Richard, that's what we've done for 10 years while this movement's been going on all around us, we've just gone back and talked about something else, and it hadn't gotten us anywhere. And now we find ourselves surrounded by states, specifically here in the South, that all have universal school choice. All of our sister states do now.
Well, but that's not entirely true that it hasn't gotten us anywhere, because you've made huge strides in education.
No, I mean on education freedom. We have made huge strides. I'm the first one to champion that, and I think every elected politician you see anywhere worth their salt has claimed not only victory, but that they were the ones behind it, you know, including the opponents of school choice. They were major opponents of all of those reforms back in 2013, 14, and 15, and now they wear that banner proudly. And that's what I tell people. You have to excuse me if I'm not taking my cues from them, because if we'd listened to them, we wouldn't have any of the things that we all are running around celebrating now. Yeah. That was the result of reforms coupled with good leadership and hard work of teachers and principals in the classroom getting it done. And it certainly wasn't the result of these unions and special interest on the status quo side of we've got to hold it right where it is. So no, this isn't about a shot at some failing school overall in our state. It is about parents and their kids. And if you approach the equation from what is best for the child, all of those other things that we've been talking about or that we'll talk about in the next 20 minutes, those other things are factors. I agree 100%. But they're factors. They're not the main thing. The main thing is the parents and what is best for that child. And I think in almost every case, the parents know what's best. And so unfortunately for me, that's the way I come at it. And so everything after that, yes, it has to be dealt with and handled and addressed in a common sense way. And this isn't about pulling the rug out from under public schools. And just, by the way, in every state where they have this, the take rates are way less than 10%. It doesn't, if anything,
it's actually one of the things I was going to ask you about. How much movement are we talking about?
You're talking about, the largest states' movements are about 7.5%. Now,
that's 7.5% of the public school number or the private school number?
Of all students in the state, of all students in a state.
So if give or take 500,000 students, we're talking about fewer than 50,000.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, if we tracked other states, which we typically do. Now, I will tell you, Tennessee, when they opened their program, they had 20,000 slots. They had 40,000 applicants the first year, and they doubled their program the second year. You asked earlier about the kids that are already in private school. I agree, but I would just tell you today it's not fair because parents that are taxpayers pay all their taxes, do everything they're supposed to do. They don't feel the assigned public school district where they have to go is what they want for their kids, so they pay out of their pocket for this private school. No, that's not fair compared to where folks live. And you say, well, they should work better on their public school district, have better leadership, put more money into it, and do the things that maybe we did in Oxford or Tupelo or wherever that is. That's part of it. But it's also to each individual set of parents and their kids. Every situation is different. Some folks have 3 kids that thrive at their local public school, and their 4th child does something different. It's not the public school is great. It's just for that child, it's this. So there's not going to be this mass exodus. And if anything, this raises the level of competition for everybody. And when we implemented those new literacy measures in 3rd grade reading gate, public schools didn't shy away from that. Now the folks that like the status quo fought hard against it, but once it passed, the teachers and administrators did what needed to do, and they're the real heroes of this in that they moved the needle in a real way and adapted, and that's why we have those test scores. To prove that all that work was worth it, but there wasn't some secret sauce somewhere. It was a lot of hard work, and I commend that. I'm just saying they'll step their game up again. And this idea about accountability, true accountability will happen when folks have the ability to have some other option. Like we have an accountability system now that is 100% broken. I think we identify 3 schools in the state that are failing.
Right.
So that means for the other
But you believe there are actually more than 3 schools that are failing in Mississippi?
Well, we know there are. If we know there are. I'll just say it that way.
Or by the metrics that we use or the way we measure.
Are there only 3 schools in the state where Richard Cross wouldn't want to send his kids? So you're telling me the other 131 you're good with? I would think not.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to go far to find some that you didn't want to send your kids to.
I feel like I need to put a disclaimer on this conversation. Because when we've talked about this with other guests in the past, whether it's Grant Callen or the Lieutenant Governor or others that are for or against it, I've been painted a bunch of different ways. Oh, Richard, why don't you ask questions that support school choice or educational freedom, or why are you against it? Here's the truth. I'm going to tell you 2 things. One, I don't know how I feel about this still. And we've been talking about it for months and years. And I think there are pros and cons to both sides of the argument. I just honestly believe that, and that may be a terrible place to be when you're in my position. Number 2, and I've never said this publicly on the radio, but I'll say it. The situation that the speaker described just a moment ago is the situation that my family is in. I'm a public school graduate. My wife went to private school in the Delta where she grew up. Our kids have been in public schools this year for the very first time. Our son is in school at Regents and is having a fantastic year. Our 2 daughters are at Oxford. They are both having fantastic years. And nothing that happened at Oxford caused us to move him to Regents. It was simply a decision that we thought that particular style of education might be better for him. Now, Mr. Speaker, the fortunate thing for us, and I recognize this, is we didn't have to say, okay, are we going to be able to do this? Can we make it work financially? We were in a spot where we said, okay, we think this is the right decision, and so we're going to do it. There are a lot of people, when we talk about the money piece of it, the money following the student, that need that to be the case so that they can have the choice to send a child to private school or to a Christian school if they believe that's right. But we've also heard that private schools will almost immediately raise the tuition rates commensurate with the amount of money that's coming that is following a student. Is there any way to prevent that or keep that from happening?
I don't know if there's a way to prevent it, but here's what I can tell you. That has not happened in other states because private schools, unlike public schools, private schools have to compete for their students or their customers, if you want to look at it that way. And so they're in the service business. They're in the customer service business. Why all of a sudden would they say we're just going to, and especially with what we're talking about, like how our kind of, I don't know that we have a final product yet, but what we've discussed in regards to legislation is our program would be capped at first. It would be limited, and there would be income levels, and it would be need-based. Now, any slots that weren't taken by need-based then would be opened up for anybody else. But this idea that we can't touch everybody or that the money, all of a sudden private schools just say, okay, all our people are in, and we're going to raise it to that amount, and we'll pocket all that money. Is that going to sit with their patrons? I mean, think about that for a minute. A family that's paying private school tuition finally has a government that recognizes some choice for them in the fact that they're taxpayers and that they've chosen an alternate path for their kid's education. And their school's simply going to raise those school boards at those private schools are elected just like by patrons, just like we elect school board members, at our public school districts, and they answer to those people. And that has not happened in other states.
Would there be? You said the lack of accountability, but so the testing ultimate requirements that. No, but I'm talking about in terms of teacher certification and testing requirements and standardized test scores, all the things that the public schools are accountable for that private schools are not necessarily. Maybe they do it a different way, but under the state system, they're not exactly. Would they have to be accountable in the same way that public schools are in this model?
To your question, in the same way that you ask it, are they accountable in the same way public schools are? I guess the technical legal answer for that is no. But I would say this. Now hear the music. There's no accountability now for public schools. You can label one an F, but guess what? You're going to line up little Johnny and send him right in there anyway against whether the parents like it or not. It's not like if you're an F, all of a sudden kids get to go somewhere else, or that they close that school down and send you to a better school district somewhere. They tell you it's an F, but you still have to send your kid there. Private schools, if they're not performing to parents' expectations, they take their kid and move them somewhere else. So there's already some accountability in that way. So I push back on the argument, no accountability. To your technical legal question that the opponents of school choice like to put forward, I would say this. Most of our accredited private schools today take a national norm standard test.
Yeah.
And,
hold that thought.
And
We'll
they're glad to compare their scores with any school that wants to do that.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Girl, your memory won't ever haunt me. I don't love you.
Welcome back. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Just a breaking story from a national news perspective. Need to mention this to you. We'll circle back to it to begin the 8 o'clock hour. A shooting at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility. There are multiple fatalities. All ICE officers are accounted for and appear to be okay. I assume that means it's detainees. Forgive me, I'm not going to make an assumption. 3 have been shot, according to Fox News, and the shooter has died as a result of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. So taking the coward's way out on the heels of a cowardly act. But we'll get more information for you on that to start the 8 o'clock hour. Speaker of the House Jason White is my guest. We're talking about educational freedom, school choice in Mississippi. There's so much to cram in, and there's so many. This feels like truly a devil's in the details. And you know what's in the bill.
Let's talk about that. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because the devil is in the details. Regardless of all the rhetoric you hear from the opponents and the points that proponents of school choice make, it still all comes down to what we can afford and what we can do. You brought up a great point that shouldn't the folks already in private school, if you're going to do this, shouldn't they get their money too? Is it fair that they don't? Well, it's just like our income tax. We didn't get in this overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. And we're not going to solve the ultimate education freedom problems that we have in our state overnight. So we do have to take small steps. But where we are is, several states have been cited as, the program costs double what they thought it would. This will be a budget buster for Mississippi and those kind of things. First of all, it won't be a budget buster if you plan accordingly and if you have caps. And so what we're saying is we would start out with a limited number of students, a finite number, whether that number is 10,000 or 15,000 or 12,000. You would have a number and say that's the max. And we're going to set it up based on maybe half of it is for kids that are currently in public school and half of it is for any and everybody else. But even within those subgroups, you have it based on income, just like our federal program.
Need-based.
It's need-based, just like the provisions for the new federal tax credits that go to scholarship granting organizations for school choice on a federal level through federal tax credits.
Which, by the way, is a whole different conversation.
Totally different.
I mean, it could. I mean, I suppose in theory it could render all of this conversation moot.
Well,
or at least a big part of it.
It would be another piece to it for sure. The question is, how much are scholarship granting organizations in our state? It's only $1,700 an individual, and that doesn't go to your kids. For a married couple, they can have a $3,400 deduction, designate that to a scholarship granting organization that they have no control over. Like if you formed one, you aggregate those federal tax credits, and then you can grant scholarships to kids to go to K-12.
Okay.
In this case, Mississippi, based on how much money you have in your scholarship granting organization. So that's we're at least 2 years away from that. I think 2027 is the first year, and they're still developing regs on that. So we'll see what that looks like. What we're talking about is from a state side that, yes, it could work hand in glove with that, but it looks different. And for us, base student cost is probably where we land, which is $6,600, $6,800. Average private school tuition in our state is less than $6,000. So we think that's a good start. Now, it may look something different for homeschoolers. It certainly won't be that much. A lot of states have done maybe $1,000 or $2,000 per family on a homeschool type choice situation, that sort of thing.
You said something a second ago. You said when we were talking about details. I want to go back to, ultimately it's, okay, what's in the bill and will it be passed? You said earlier you think that you've got the votes in the House of Representatives. My question would be the votes for what? For universal school choice, where like everything is on the board, or because it's like the Hamilton song where they say you don't have the votes, you don't have the votes. I don't know that right now for universal choice you've got the votes.
Right. Well, if you see us come to the floor with it, Barney would call that a clue. How about that?
That's fair.
That's fair. we hadn't in my 2 sessions. I don't think we run out to the floor and turned the cards over just to see where we were. We kind of knew where we were going in.
Right.
But I think it's because
on universal.
I think it's because on anything. But so I'm saying we're not going to throw
I understand
common
that.
sense out the window on this and just see where everybody is. We're gonna come up with a thoughtful, common sense piece of legislation that finally allows some folks to get started, some measure of choice. So yeah, I think you'll see public to public, which, by the way, the receiving school districts in a public to public portability piece of school choice still holds all the cards, doesn't have to take a single kid. It doesn't cost that school district anything. Those are all red herring arguments from opponents that do not hold water. They still hold all the cards there.
We got to pick this conversation up soon. I appreciate your time,
Richard,
this morning.
Thank you for the time, and I appreciate your openness and allowing us to talk about it a little bit.
Speaker of the House, Jason White from the Mississippi House of Representatives, 8 o'clock hour, coming up after the news.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Amarillo by morning, up from San Antonio. Everything that I got is just what I've got on. When that sun is high in that Texas sky, I'll be bucking at the county fair.
Good to be with you. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. My thanks to Speaker of the House, Jason White, for coming in and discussing at length. And by the way, we intended to get to some other things as well, and just didn't get there. And I probably should know better, especially with a topic this big. And we're left with questions, right? Things that he wants to talk about, things that I want to ask about, and things that you have questions about. But I do appreciate that we can continue the conversation. And as I said to you a couple of months ago, and I'll say to you again right now, this conversation is not going anywhere. It's going to be one that continues until we get to the legislative session this year. I would encourage you to listen, like legitimately. At least listen to the other side. And this is not like a Charlie Kirk conversation. I mean, I suppose that principle works. But if you are a proponent of school choice, of educational freedom, whether that's limited or universal, listen to the opponents on the issue and genuinely try to understand what their concerns are. And if you are an opponent of school choice / educational freedom, because you believe in the public school system, because you believe that's where tax money should stay, whatever the reason, at least listen to the people who are proponents of it. Try to understand where they're coming from, what their situation is, what is unique about it, what makes the most sense. It's possible that there is a solution that is somewhere between universal school choice and no school choice that really makes the most sense for the state of Mississippi. Maybe that doesn't go far enough. Maybe it goes too far. But I think it's a worthy conversation. I think it is a conversation that is worthy of our time between now and the legislative session. The details matter. The implementation matters. And we'll see where it goes. And you heard Speaker of the House tell me a moment ago that if it goes to the floor, there's your first clue, Barney. He believes he's got the votes. But my lasting question is, the votes for what? And it goes back to what we said just a second ago. It's in the details. What will ultimately be in the bill? Because it's not just, oh, this is the bill and House members are going to pass it. It's, okay, this is what my members can pass, recognizing that there's some that it doesn't matter what's in the bill. They're going to have to vote no, regardless of how they feel about it perfectly or personally. They are elected by a district that supports it or doesn't support it, and they're going to have to vote that way. And this is not a state flag conversation where you have elected officials who say, future and elections be damned, I'm voting for what's right for the state of Mississippi. That's not what this is. Some might argue that it should be, but that's not really how this works. And so legislators are going to vote the way their constituents in their districts expect them to vote, or they won't get to go back to Jackson in 2 years. That's just how this is going to play out. And so what is in the bill, and is it something that's palatable for someone who comes from a district where they actually oppose school choice, and yet they're able to explain it as, yes, we understand, and yet there's this very limited allowance that we think makes sense ultimately. That's why my question is, do you have the votes? Because what's in the bill, I think, is what ultimately is going to determine whether or not Speaker White has the votes. And when I asked him about, do you have the votes, it was with the idea of this universal choice. It's just all open. Everything is on the table. Because I don't believe, based on conversations that I've had, that the Speaker has the votes among his membership to get universal school choice passed. And Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann has told us flat out he does not have the votes on the Senate side for any kind of universal choice. All right, we need to go back to this breaking story. And, Lance, you may have been able to follow this a little bit closer over the last few minutes. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Earlier this morning, a shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. This is the third ICE facility or ICE employee-related shooting in the state of Texas since July. There was the one in El Dorado. There was one in McAllen, Texas. Those are both gun attacks on ICE officers or ICE facilities. Those both happened in July. It has been reported that the shooter was from an elevated position, perhaps a nearby roof. No ICE agents were injured. At least 3 have been shot in this issue. If you're talking about a rooftop shooting, there is some level of pre-planning that went into this. At least on Fox, I have not flipped around yet, you are very, very limited in the pictures that you're seeing right now. You've got one camera at a distance, and it's actually a TX dot camera, Texas dot, the Department of Transportation camera, pointing toward the general area of the ICE facility, and you got a lot of flashing lights. The other one is a camera that is pointing on the interstate, showing traffic backed up for miles and miles. Also, It's Dallas and rush hour, so traffic is backed up for miles and miles. It is an absolute standstill on the interstate. But here's the thing that I would tell you. The reason that you don't have more images than that, one, traffic, absolute gridlock, so I'm sure you've got news cameras and trucks that are trying to get there. Number two, it is overcast and raining, limiting visibility from helicopters for any aerial coverage. I mean, you're limited to, right now, 2 or 3 shots and nothing that tells you or shows you anything. Lance, is there anything you've seen so far?
The only thing more I can share with you is, according to Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, he said shots were fired into the ICE facility in the office in Texas where the detainees were being brought in. All ICE employees are accounted for. There are confirmed fatalities. Victims appear to be the detainees. So that's the most updates we have at this moment. And like you said, not anything really as far as imagery to share it yet, but it did confirm a rooftop sniper, and as well that it shot into the office, not picking them off or so as they were walking in, but into the actual physical office. Yeah.
Whew. Secretary Kristi Noem, there was a shooting this morning. This is on X at the Dallas ICE Gov field office. Details are still emerging, but we can confirm there were multiple injuries and fatalities. The shooter is deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We don't know motive yet. We know that our ICE law enforcement is facing unprecedented violence against them. It must stop. Please pray for the victims and their families. There was one piece of reporting, and I don't know if it was from a reporter on site or it was somebody that was opining, so I do hesitate to call it reporting. I mean, you can do the 2 + 2 = 4 thing, but it said while there was not a specific threat or a specific motive that they knew of, it was abundantly clear that this was targeting ICE officials. I mean, that makes sense to me, but at the same time, it feels like you don't necessarily have that information yet.
I think it's given what we've seen in the last 6-8 months, maybe a year, this stuff is ramped up. It needs to stop, whatever the cause is. I don't know who they're going to point the finger at, but it's been pretty clear, what's been going on.
Yeah.
I do not think that the violence is coming from the right side of this. And you hate to polarize any issue, but it seems pretty obvious where this stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
Got to stop. This is not how you do things. And I know Mississippians, I'm sure they feel the same. No matter what side you come from, this is not how you resolve your differences.
Well, we have made it as a country for about 250 years without our primary means of communication and showing displeasure being the use of a rifle. Or maybe we made it 245 years without that. It's a bad place. We're in a bad place.
And as you said, you don't want to point fingers, but we've seen a lot going on.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says shots were fired into the ICE office in Texas, as Lance said just a moment ago, where detainees are brought in. All ICE employees are accounted for. There are confirmed fatalities. Victims appear to be detainees. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
She never knew what his cause might bring. With a cowboy like him, it could be anything. And she always expected.
Breaking news this morning out of Dallas, a shooting at an ICE facility. A sniper-style shooting reportedly from a nearby rooftop into the office of ICE headquarters in Dallas, where detainees are brought in. At least 3 people shot. There are fatalities. I don't know if it's 3 fatalities or if that has been confirmed yet. There are no ICE agents who were hit or hurt in the shooting, which leads us to believe that it is detainees who were shot in this.
It also suggested that it was, in one of the earliest reports that I saw, that it was a shooter shooting at random people. So not necessarily targeting any specific person, but those folks that were coming in and out, I guess, of
just
the facility.
ICE is bad, let's shoot in their direction.
Yeah, let's just shoot anybody in around, yeah. From what it reads at this moment, yeah.
The person who fired the gun is dead, thanks to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And we are told in a report that this is confirmed a white male shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Stop me if you've heard that before. All right. So immediately debates about guns will begin. And just, death taxes and gun ownership, that's coming up.
Well, it almost is.
Then we're going to have a debate about mental health issues. Yeah. We need to know the background and the identity and how the shooter identified. And then everybody can go to their corners and fight about stuff that's not going to change.
Well, you've had
while ignoring the fact that we have Eagle that is just absolutely pervasive in every single place in our country.
Well, let's look at it this way real quick. The BLM riots, Antifa, church shootings, Trump assassination attempt, Charlie Kirk assassination, pro-life pregnancy fires, Tesla vandalism, attacks against ICE agents, attacks against police, and attacks against federal courthouses, not to mention the legislators who were assassinated as well, and the attempts on Kavanaugh, the other attempt on Trump, who we just had a case on, so on and so forth. Have we seen a pattern here yet? I mean, after all of this.
Well, not only do we see a pattern where these are left attacks on the right. So, yes, there is that pattern. We also have the pattern, and this isn't real popular to say, right? I mean, this will get you in trouble in a hurry when you say what Erica Kirk said in Charlie's memorial service. She said, in the aftermath of my husband's murder, there was no looting, there was no rioting, there was no shooting, there was no vandalism. There were people that were coming together to pray. There were people that were trying to comfort others and to remember Charlie. I mean, you have reached the point where it simply is, you simply have a different dynamic when misdeeds are committed against, and I use misdeeds in air quotes, are committed against the left or someone who identifies as on the left versus what is committed against the right. The George Floyd situation turned into nationwide protests, billions of dollars of property damage, zero accountability for most of those who engaged in the property damage, and anarchy within the United States. Charlie Kirk is murdered in front of thousands of students on a college campus in the most vicious way possible. And what do you have? You have candlelight vigils and worship services that break out on college campuses in cities across the country. The left has become the party of violence. It's not exclusive, right? Not all Democrats are for violence. There are lots of Democrats that denounce the shooting of Charlie Kirk. But one of the things, and I didn't get into this yesterday with Scott Colon because I don't think it's entirely fair. But I would ask a Democrat this question. How do you identify, how do you put your head on your pillow at night and go, I believe in these things, and that's what my party believes in, Whether we're talking about like freedom of choice and mass handouts for the poor and all of those things, but be okay with it's your party that is committing all of these violent acts. So I use Scott Colomb just as an example because I had him on the show yesterday, running for United States Senate as a Democrat in the state of Mississippi.
But conveniently, we're not hearing any Democrats, anybody.
Well, no, but the point is,
the problem here.
So the point is, I would ask the question of Scott. I mean, Scott, I get you're a great dad. You're a good husband. You've worked in the public space in the district as a district attorney. You tell me you're going to go to the Senate, you're going to be an independent, but there's a D next to your name, and this is what Democrats are doing. How am I supposed to marry those two things? And you go, well, I'm different. Well, so move. Move the D from out in front of your name. Well, you can't do that because you need money to run campaigns, and obviously the R is already taken, and you can't win as an independent. You can't win as a Democrat either, but hey, that's beside the point. I appreciate that people are willing to run for public office. How do you do it? If you're a moderate Democrat because your grandparents were a Democrat and your parents were a Democrat and you believe in Democrat principles, at least what they used to be, how do you line yourself up with what the party's doing? With what the people in the party who claim to be or line up there are? The Democrat Party has been taken hostage by its extreme left, period.
The funding of it by people like George Soros and those types of NGOs and the soft money. And
it's way more than just George Soros.
Well, that's what I'm saying. USAID. Again, he's the face of the operation amongst USAID and things like that, which we were trying, it seemed that this administration was trying to defund some of this stuff because of where it was ending up. I mean, it wasn't like Elon sat up there and did nothing. I'm sure they did some forensic accounting to figure out where a lot of this money was ending up. And, you're seeing a fomenting of the left here. There's not only are you upset that you're getting rid of, detainees and illegals and all that, but apparently the funding for this weirdness is drying up too. And it seems to me when you take candy away from a baby, they like to cry. And that may be what you're seeing a little bit here is the byproduct of not getting what you want, not getting your way. So what are we going to do? Let's take it to violence.
Hey, there's one other thing we need to talk about today. David McRae joining us because this should be a massive story. Should be a massive story. It is not. And if we don't give it to you and you're not following the right people on X, you may not hear about it. Chairman Jim Jordan, the Republican from Ohio, was running oversight, and this happened yesterday. Google admits censorship under Biden, promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. This release happened yesterday. Today, thanks to the oversight of Chairman Jim Jordan, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations on topics such as COVID-19 and elections an opportunity to return to the platform. Woohoo, we kicked you off. You're welcome to come back. Google also admitted to the following to the House Judiciary Committee. Number one, the Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. That's number one. Number two, the Biden administration censorship pressure was, quote, unacceptable and wrong, close quote. Number three, public debates should never come at the expense of relying on, quote-unquote, authorities. Number four, the company will never use third-party, quote-unquote, fact-checkers. Number five, Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech, including the removal of lawful content. These major admissions come after Chairman Jordan's subpoena to Google and a years-long investigation into the company. But tell me more about President Trump trying to squash your First Amendment rights? Please tell me more.
From the Seabrook.com.
It's time to get real. Keeping it real.
It's time for you to get real with it.
And keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics. Yes. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
That hot old summer sun make you beg for your next breath. So you best be on the creek bank.
Glad to be with you. What a busy morning. You know, Lance, there are days where you spend a lot of time kind of getting ready for the show and you get a lot of different directions to go and you just never get there, whether it's because the conversation is derailed by PTO systems on tractors or a shooting at an ice facility in Dallas, Texas. That certainly is the breaking news of the morning. Details just barely starting to come out. 3 believed to be dead. None of them ICE officials so far in Texas this morning. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross, and we welcome David McRae, State Treasurer here in the great state of Mississippi, into the studio this morning. Always kind to join us. Mr. Treasurer, good morning.
Hey, Richard, how you doing this morning, all things considered?
Doing well. A lot going on. Trying to keep all the balls in the air. And
it's only 8:38, so, I mean, you got a long way to go for the day.
That's right. We do have
long way. So
long way to
everything
go.
Else good?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's a fun time of the year. You got everybody back in school, and there are some parents who are looking at their children who are sophomores or juniors or seniors in high school and thinking that they got to pay for college before much longer, and have not perhaps prepared the way that they should have. And so let's talk about paying for college.
Well, it's funny that you actually mentioned that. I got an email. My daughter goes to prep, and I got an email a couple days ago, and they're having a whole seminar for parents on how to afford college, and it's meant for 9th and 10th graders. So you know. You're saying that should be a kindergarten, first and second grader parents meeting? I'm saying straight after birth. We should start planning for college. I mean, it's never too late to plan for college, and that's always the big thing. It's people think it is. You have to wait till later to plan for college, or I'll put it off. But you can plan for college as soon as the child's born, and it's cheaper to do that. But whenever you can save for college, it's good because we've talked before about this issue. And I've talked to others around the state about the issue. Kids are going to college, whether it's 2-year or 4-year, institutions, and they're graduating with debt. And the whole point is for these college savings programs is twofold. We're getting you to college, and then you're going to graduate with little to no debt, and that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. There's been so much discussion. And it's two issues that are tied together, right? There's the economic development that is happening in the state of Mississippi with businesses coming in, and then the corollary is job training, skills training, degrees, whether we're talking about community colleges or 4-year colleges or certificate programs. Within the college savings mechanism that exists, because most people, when they think about save for college, they're thinking about, all right, I got to have 4 years at a 4-year school. Is there any are there any drawbacks or are there any limitations on being able to use money saved for college in community college programs, certificate programs, skills training programs?
No, these programs after 2017, when President Trump and now President Trump signed the tax bill, he allowed 529 programs to be used for vocational training, and that's fantastic. We're seeing massive economic development around the state of Mississippi, whether it's the Amazon plant just a few miles from here, the regular Amazon kind of plant, the EV plant up in Marshall, things in Meridian Meridian, on the coast, everywhere else. So we need vocational training. So to answer your question in the longest way possible, vocational training can be used, 2-year colleges can be used through our college savings program. And we're seeing more and more people do that. We're seeing a lot in this generation, kids foregoing the 4-year college experience. They're going to community college. They're going to learn a skill. And then they'll go down and work somewhere on the coast at a shipyard. A welder will make roughly $90,000. A nurse can make roughly $95,000. Electrician here in Jackson, which you can't find, can make around $75,000. And what kids and adults are seeing is not. It used to be you go to vocational training, that's it. You never went back to school again,
Right.
Period. What people are seeing now is that you go start a job, make a lot of money and good money, and then you go and get your degree and what you want to do, maybe start a business from there and hire people. So it's a win-win all around, the way around. And these college savings programs can be used for that, and we're seeing an increase in people using them for it.
I was thinking about this a second ago. Yeah, one of the things you've seen at a number of high schools is the rise in dual enrollment programs where you're still in high school, but you're taking classes that will count as college credit. Sometimes there are fees that are associated with those. If you've been doing a good job and have been saving for college for an extended period of time, can you dive into those 529 funds that you have built to pay for something like a dual enrollment while a student is still in high school without penalty?
If you have the prepaid one, which is the MPACT plan,
Right.
the MPACT plan, which is the prepaid one, it costs $1 today, it costs $1 tomorrow type plan.
Sure. Yeah.
The MAX plan, which is the checking account one where you can put in as little as $25 and as much as you want into that plan, you can use your MAX plan to pay for that.
Okay.
It's more flexible. The MPACT plan is totally meant to when you start community college, vocational training, or a 4-year college, that's when it starts to take effect. Your MAX plan is far more flexible. It can room, board, parking, pay for the things you're talking about. You can also use it for high school. I mean, you can use it to pay for school at the high school level. Teachers can actually use a MAX plan to pay for school supplies. That's how flexible it got in 2017, and they've kept that with the Triple B bill that passed. I mean, It didn't change. So you can still do those things with the 529 program. They're just very flexible. And when I'm talking about flexibility, I'm talking about the MAX plan on that one.
And when you say MAX, we're talking about the treasurer's office branding of a 529, right? That's the 529 basically that's offered through your office?
That's correct. The 529 is just the title in the federal code section. It's called, you'll hear it called a 529, you'll hear it college savings, you'll hear MPACT, you'll hear MAX, and unfortunately that's confusing. But when we're talking about what we were just talking about, that is your MAX plan. That is not the prepaid version of this plan. But they're offered by my office. You can call my office, go to the website. We have tons of information on the website regarding this at treasury.ms.gov, what they can be used for. And I'm not an accountant, so I can't get too into it. Sure. But they do have tax benefits to it. They are deductions you can do. So a lot of people do it that way.
C-Spire text line 601-879-4395. Just ancillary to the conversation, somebody says a pipeline welder can make $200,000 a year. They will pay you $80,000 to $100,000 a year to learn to be a welder. It takes about 2 years.
I mean,
there are opportunities that are there, David.
I mean, there definitely are. And with the economy, with the governor bringing so much business to the state of Mississippi, there's going to be so much building in the Mississippi and not as much workforce to do that. So, you're going to look at it. You may be able to name your price on what you want to be paid in some of these places because they're going to need welders. They're going to need people like that. They're going to need electricians. They're going to need HVAC people. But I think in the future, with the AWS facility, the server farm coming up in Richland a couple miles from here, I think community colleges are really going to start diving into server maintenance, server security, cybersecurity, and that's going to be part of your new vocational training, and that's going to make you a lot of money at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's no question about that. A couple minutes left. Let's give the public service announcement that we always do about unclaimed money. Treasury.ms.gov is the website. I think it was a couple of times ago when you were on. I did this during a commercial break while we were visiting, and I got a check. And there are a lot of other people that have taken advantage of that as well.
Well, did the check cash? I guess I got to ask that question. The state had the money to pay your cat.
Well, I'm holding it to make sure that you've got enough in reserves, and then I'll go deposit it.
Well, it's fine. No, we've done a great job over at the Treasury. My unclaimed money team is fantastic. We're going around the state in a couple weeks to visit people and do unclaimed property events, unclaimed money events. We've returned $150 million as of this week, and it's going to be a little bit more by Friday. It'll be a little bit more. Since 1982, this is a fun fact, since 1982, unclaimed money has returned $300 million. In my 5 years, I returned half of that, $150 million of that. So we're just so proactive about it. And when I got to this office, I wanted to revolutionize what unclaimed money could do for the state of Mississippi. I knew it was an economic boost. I knew it would be helpful for people in Mississippi. And look, it's not the government's money. It's the people's money. And I wanted to give it to the people, back to them. And, the old adage, the government doesn't know what to do with your money. You know what to do with your money better than they do.
One thing that I would ask you, if you did this a few years ago, is it worth going back and doing it again, plugging your name into the database again?
Do it every day. Every day we're getting more money into it. Maybe you'll go crazy after seeing your name not too many times. So maybe you want to space it out a little bit. But
maybe once a month.
Once a month. But we get a huge amount of money in almost every week, every month. Just because you didn't find it today doesn't mean you're going to find it tomorrow. And type in whichever way you think your name may be spelled. That's a big thing.
There you go. David McRae, State Treasurer. Always enjoy the conversation. Appreciate your time. Save money for college. You're going to need it. We promise. You can use the Treasury website to learn more. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Richard.
Take a time out. We'll wrap it up with you coming up next. MRC on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Right here with my redneck, white socks and blue ribbon beer.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I'm a member of the country club. Country music is what I love. I drive an old Ford pickup truck.
Football Friday nights in Oxford keep rolling this Friday night at the Lyric. Get ready for an old-fashioned hall party featuring the 9-piece funk powerhouse 5-Star Funk Lounge. It's the biggest party on the square before the LSU home game this Saturday. Doors open at 7. VIP happy hour kicks off with heavy hors d'oeuvres and live music from Stephen Pillow. Then at 8:30, the funk takes over. Don't miss your chance. General admission and VIP tickets still available. 5-Star Funk Lounge at the hall party this Friday at the Lyric. Presented by Ratchet Entertainment, sponsored by SuperTalk Mississippi and the Grove Collective. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert, thanks for being for spending part of your morning with us as we wrap things up. It's like, where do we tie the bow this morning? Because a lot of different directions. John asked a question on the C Spire text line. I don't know if this is for me or if this is for Treasurer McRae, who's obviously no longer with us. He says, can you make the statement that no dollar collected tax-wise is the state's? It is, however, the people's money.
Well, the people is the state also, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's. I mean, if you want me to say that, I guess I can. To what end? Yes, the tax that the state collects comes from the people of Mississippi, but once that tax is paid, it becomes the property of the state treasury, the state of Mississippi, whatever. But there is a fiduciary responsibility for the legislature and those who decide how to spend that money to do so in a responsible way. I mean, that's like, I don't know exactly what you're asking. And I feel like that's a product of politicians saying to you, this isn't our money, this is your money. Whatever. If it's not your money, then don't take it from me. How about that? Oh, wait. You are going to take it from me? Well, then I guess you're saying it's your money once you collect it. I don't know. It just feels like a big old semantics pie to me. And John, I'm not sure if there's like a gotcha on that. Like, ooh, I got you to say that. Or can you go down this road? I'm not following exactly. Feel free to expand if you would like to. David Fisher Land Company, they got you covered on the land needs. Whether you're looking for a hunting tract, acreage for farming, place to build your dream home, or a cabin in the woods. We talked a lot about tractors this morning. Maybe you just need it's like the chicken or the egg. Well, do I get the tractor and then the place to drive it? Or do I get the place to drive it and then get the tractor? I don't know.
Spend the big money first, then do the small money. Generally is how lending works best for you.
Or pay cash for the small thing while you got it.
Well, yeah, of course.
And then go buy the big thing. You're going to have to pay for it over time anyway. Whatever. But if you're trying to do place, credit, you're going to need a tractor. And if you got a tractor, you're going to need a place. And David Fisher Land Company can help you with that. DavidFisherLand.com is the website. David, Travis, Jack, they all would love the opportunity to help you, whether it's buying a piece of property or selling a piece of property. They're based in Inverness, Mississippi, but their expertise is in Mississippi and Arkansas and Louisiana. So whether you're looking for a hunting lease, a big acreage farm, hunting land, or just property as an investment, they can help you at David Fisher Land Company. The website, davidfisherland.com. Some listings on that website that you probably want to take a look at as well, davidfisherland.com. Shooting in Dallas this morning, an ICE office targeted shooting by a apparently single person, sniper style from a rooftop. Shooter took his own life, self-inflicted gunshot wound. We think 3 dead, none of them ICE agents or officers within the building. The presumption is that those deceased are detainees. Sad story all the way around. And tomorrow we'll get into some of what Trump said at the United Nations. Let's close with this. We don't have time to go super deep into it. A new poll is out. Reuters and Ipsos polled 1,019 adults in the United States between September 19th and 21st, 2025. Who's doing better, Republicans or Democrats on these issues? Which party has a better plan? Crime? Republicans, 40%. Immigration? Republicans, 40%. Foreign conflicts? 35% red. U.S. economy, 34% red. Gun control, 32%. Political extremism, 30%. The only categories in which Democrats outgained Republicans: respect democracy, 31% to 29%. Dems get the nod on health care, women's rights, and the environment. Crime, 40 to 20. That better be concerning for Democrats as we head toward the midterms, because that ain't good. Thanks for being with us. For Lance, for our guest, Speaker White, Treasurer McRae, I'm Richard Cross. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
He was a hound of hounds. He was wonder of all walkers.
Your home. A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.